Going live? I'm live. Okay, so everybody go over and see if you can find the YouTube live. All right, everybody, welcome back to Jack's World of Wildlife. Today we're doing another Q&A. So just let me know what questions you'd like to have answered, and then if we have time, we could maybe get into some other stuff. But since now I'm planning on doing these weekly, I don't want to use up all my ideas for live streams. So if we end up just having Q&As for the first few times, that's fine with me. Hey, everybody. Everybody's starting to trickle in. Okay. I'm going to pull a question from the Instagram Live before I shut it off. Spencer Grisham says, how'd you get into doing this? Did you get a college degree for this or an interest you had since you were young? So I kind of touched on this last time. I've always loved doing this. And for a long time, I put off doing the whole YouTube thing because I had kind of convinced myself that I didn't have the infrastructure set. So I was kind of holding myself back, like, no, I don't really have any camera equipment. I've never really picked up a professional camera. I had taken videos on my phone and stuff like that. And I just was putting it off. And, but I've always loved animals and I've always loved teaching. And it wasn't until I saw a lot of way less qualified individuals producing ridiculous stuff that wasn't even close to being true that I thought, hey, even if I can't produce professional grade stuff right now, I probably need to be doing the best I can in fostering an ethical and actually educational sort of community on YouTube. And the best person to do that, to change things how I'd like to see them be changed, was me. And so that's how I kind of got into this. So the first stuff was filmed on my my iPhone 7 or something. And that was in Costa Rica. We had planned to release stuff before, but my buddy's camera lens broke, like all this. We were supposed to have something like a bunch of stuff filmed and released in like February of 2018. And if you've been following the channel from the beginning, our first, like my trailer, I went out and got professionally filmed, and that was filmed that released in like May of 2018. So I didn't get anything out until May, and I was like, ugh. But I was like, hey, well, at least it'll start in Costa Rica. So yeah, I've always loved animals ever since I was a kid. And I've always, had a fun time educating people and teaching people about what I'm passionate about, and people seem to resonate and connect with the type of educating I do. So I thought, well, who better than to work on some of this stuff? Great question. Okay, so I'm going to shut off the Instagram Live. Everybody's kind of trickling out anyway, so hop on over to the YouTube. And it should pop up. You can just search. If you can't find it, go to my channel and then go to playlists and click on the live stream playlist. This should be in there and it should say live on it. There's already one in there that we did last week, so go to the one that's live. All right, I'll see you over at the YouTube. Okay, YouTube people, let's see. What are y'all up to? I'm doing great. Brothers of Wildlife. Be consistent and your channel will grow for sure. My content is great. I appreciate it. I'm trying to get consistent, trying to get weekly stuff going. It gets difficult, especially on long trips. I get tired, I get discouraged. And then some of my videos, I'm like, hey, here's a bug or something. What equipment are you using these days? Oh, great question. So honestly, it's pretty funny. A lot of my stuff I still film on my phone. Unless I can't get all the footage I need outside of my phone, or if it's something that's like on a bigger scale. And what I mean by that is, like, if I'm like catching like beetles or bugs or something tiny, like maybe a snake or a lizard, a lot of the times I'll just use my phone because it's a lot easier. It's a lot more compact. I don't have to like set it up. If there's a lot of like fast paced stuff, I have the phone out a lot of the time. Our big kind of like setups where we like have an animal come out, like when we filmed with when we filmed with Peanut, the king cobra, we knew what we were doing. We set up all the cameras, and I was able to use the camcorder and getting some B-roll footage. But in that also, we used a lot of phone footage. So I'm using the iPhone 10. I also have a Canon XA40, which is a professional camcorder. And then for Christmas, I bought myself the Canon, I think it's EOS 500D or the Canon T7i. And I'm really excited about using that. We filmed an episode or two with the DSLR, and a lot of people really liked the look of it. If you saw the Viper Strike video with the Trimerosaurus trigonocephalus, that was filmed on a T6i. And I really kind of liked the look. Also, you can kind of switch the lenses. I'm hoping maybe in this following year to get some more lenses for those cameras so that we can get, some different types of shots, shots from far away. The camcorder is really great, but it's only got 20 times optical zoom, which you think, well, 20 times, that should be more than efficient. But a lot of the Canon, the Rebel series, you can slap on a heavy duty telephoto lens and you can, be shooting from a lot farther away. And so I just wanted to kind of add to the repertoire. But basically, you don't really need a lot of equipment, but that's what I have. I use the Canon XA40, great camera, super intuitive, really easy to use. Battery life isn't like crazy. It's maybe 2 or so hours. So I always buy extra batteries for any of my cameras. I would rather throw 2 or 3, $50 batteries on my camera, price than, be trying to film something and, camera dies. I think SD cards and batteries are like the two things I'm like super weird about. I have like, I think total I've got like 3 terabytes worth of like storage and SD cards that I take with me on every trip. Like, no way I'm going to use 3 terabytes of storage because the XA40 shoots about 1 gig a minute. So it's pretty much like minutes is a gig, 20 minutes of videos, 20 gigabytes of information. It's at 4K, it takes up a lot of storage versus iPhone at 4K, it's about 500 megabytes per minute. So it's about half the size of the files. The editing software I use if I'm smacking something out on my phone, I've got iMovie on my phone, actually. That's what I used like back in school when we had to do projects and stuff, so I was really familiar with it. Some of my videos, if I get a lot of really nice footage and I really want to kind of spoil you guys, I'll pull it into my PC, which I'm doing on live, and I'll use Adobe Premiere, which is a lot more bells and whistles. So like our Christmas special we did a few years ago, all that we had to key through like Adobe After Effects and Premiere because we had all the special effects and green screens and all that type of thing. And so that's the equipment and the editing software that I'm using. Yeah, I really like them. I'm excited to try it out. I've never actually had a professional grade camera. This is too bright. I'm going to turn this down. And so I'm excited to try it out. What is my favorite place in Texas to look for critters? Great question. I am a huge fan of South Texas. I really am. A lot of people are like, oh no, West Texas or East Texas. East Texas is actually pretty similar, if I'm going to be honest, to a lot of the southeastern United States. In fact, if I was going to go to East Texas, I might as well just shoot farther east to maybe the Carolinas. You get a lot more diversity in plants and animals and some of that old growth, eastern forests. West Texas I like, but I get a little. I'm just in love with the South Texas just habitat, the biome. I love everything about it. That's where I can find some of my favorite insects, the Megasoma vodi, Neopondra villosa. You don't get any of that stuff out in West Texas. And West Texas has got its gems, absolutely for sure. But I think if I'm going to be honest, yeah, south of San Antonio, that's my preferred place to go in Texas. I have a lot more fun down there looking for, crotalus. I love horned lizards, Texas horned lizards. Sometimes we'll shoot out, a little west out to Del Rio because I've got a buddy out there, and we'll go and find some other stuff out there. But I just really, really prefer being in South Texas. There's a lot of insect life that I really like. You typically get a little bit more water. You get some more humid air coming off the coast. So you have a little bit more insect diversity, but you get some really cool, like endemic, stuff out in West Texas. But South Texas is definitely my favorite. What snakes did I find in Australia? I actually didn't find that many snakes. I went in November, which is essentially it's opposite because you're on the other side of the world, so opposite hemisphere. So where we are going into winter, they're like coming into summer, but it's still like early spring. And so it was pretty chilly at night, which was sad because it was like dropping to 50s or a little bit lower at night. And so there wasn't a ton of nocturnal reptile activity. But I was able to find red belly black snake. We hiked down we did this bush walk with my buddy's stepdad and his brother. And we hiked all the way down this, maybe, I don't know, quarter mile, half a mile down into this huge rocky ravine. And you could see it in the red belly black episode. I'm like filming down there in this beautiful creek running through Stony Creek. And we had just sat down to eat our picnic lunch that we had packed. And I'm just sitting there and my buddy goes, "Oh, there's a snake." And I'm like, "Oh, there's a snake?" And we all jump up. I'm like, here, take the camera. And it was, maybe, 14 inches, 16 inches, red belly black snake just swimming. And we all jump up. Well, the snake gets startled, boom, dives. And there was this like big boulder, like, I don't know, 2,000-pound boulder, easy, just sitting there in the creek. And I'm like, oh, if it got under there, the one venomous snake we find the whole time. And luckily it kind of poked back up and was kind of going by this little rock face that had this little waterfall coming down. And I hooked it just perfectly right in the right spot and got it up on land. And then it was spazzing out. And it was too small for me to like hook it well. And it was too big for me to, it wasn't big enough for me to just grab it by the body. And so I was like, well, we're like, it probably wouldn't be that significant of an envenomation being a small elapid. But I was still like, we're maybe, an hour and a half, 2-hour hike from our car to then go to the hospital if I were to get bitten by something. But it all worked out. So that was my absolute favorite thing we found. We found a little, one of the little tree snakes on a hike. It shot off in front of us and we were able to get our hands on that. And then some other, I think they're called crowned snakes. Most of the snakes in Australia are elapids. Some of them are just not really medically significant. So we found two little, I think one was called a crowned snake and another one was just a little black snake that oftentimes gets confused for red belly black snakes. And it's really funny because my reptile guide, oh, actually, I probably have it up there. I'm going to actually show you guys. So I like I said in the last live, I always prepare. I buy like, $200 worth of field guides before I go somewhere so I can study up. So let's see. Let's find snakes. Not pythons. Okay, so past pythons, water snakes, not quite. Colubrids. Let's see. What? Common tree snake. Yep. So common tree snake was one of the ones we found. Just this little guy here. Looked more like this variant. Really pretty snake. And let's see. Let's get to front fanged land snakes. White crown snake. This is the one that we found one night. Just cruising. These are all the medically significant. There was another secretive snake. Nope. Small-eyed snake. That's what it was. This guy. And it's really funny because this book says, oh, not medically significant, not super dangerous. But if they get over like 3 or so feet, you might want to go to the hospital because once, like what I said, they are elapids, so they are venomous. And if you get one that's big enough, Yeah, you can actually get a pretty serious envenomation. So, but those are the three or the four notable ones: the red belly black, small-eyed, crowned, and the tree snake. What am I streaming on now? I've got a little like camcorder like attachment that I've plugged into my computer. So I'm on my computer right now. Does it look like a good quality? Because I'm wondering if my phone would stream in higher quality, but I like doing it on my computer because I can see all of your guys' comments to the side. And I'm worried if I do the phone, I'm gonna have to like get all the way up there and be like reading y'all's comments. Looks good. Okay, awesome. Okay, yeah, no, I'm totally open to this. It's not weird for suggestions. I want you guys to tell me what you guys would like to see more of. I was thinking about bringing some animals in. But the problem is I don't have a lot of easy stuff I could bring in. Like I said, yeah, I've got a lot of frogs, but I can't take them out. And then I've got that cobra, but she's pretty flighty. So if I were to bring her here, it would be difficult to like be maneuvering with her while I'm talking. And then I have some beetles that I might bring next week. I've got some little Lucanus elephas stag beetles I just had emerge, and those would be fun to kind of have around. But they'd probably pinch me really hard. But that might be interesting for you guys to see. Co-stars as well. I'm thinking about doing a little series where I can kind of remotely interview or Skype some of my buddies or people in the animal field that we're talking about for that week, and we can discuss and talk about animals and conservation and things like that. I think that would be fun, little collaborative efforts on my part. What was my favorite animal to film? And would I go back to that animal to do another video? Oh, this is a good question. Well, for sure. I mean, I loved filming orangutans in Borneo, and I really, really want to get back to film the orangutans. But orangutans were guaranteed because we were going to a rehabilitation center. I would say probably one of my absolute favorite animal videos I've done was the echidna. Mostly because of the lead up. And I talked about this a little bit last week, but we were just like hardly any sleep. Like we had 2 days and 5 hours of sleep strung out between those 2 full days of just looking and looking and looking for echidnas. And echidnas are not all that uncommon. And so we were getting really discouraged. And it's like, 2 a.m. and I'm like nodding off in the passenger seat and my buddy's driving along and we just stop and we're just watching this echidna like waddle across the road. And we're like, is that an echidna? And we like jump out and I'm like, oh my gosh, because that's been one of my like absolute favorite animals. As a kid, people were like, oh, do you know about a platypus? I'm like, everybody knows about a platypus. Do you know about an echidna? And they were like, what is an echidna? I'm like, they're both monotremes. How do you know about the one and not know about the other? And so that was like my absolute favorite. I'm playing Sonic. Knuckles the echidna was my like favorite character to play. So I was like echidnas all the way. And the one thing was that I had actually been able to see an echidna like just like a year or two prior at like a reptile expo. Somebody had imported one and had one there, and I like freaked out. So that's the only reason why my reaction is like somewhat reined in, even though I was so excited to find one. I think if I had never seen an echidna before, I mean, I would have like started foaming at the mouth and having a seizure or something. But I would definitely love to film more monotremes in Australia. And I may tell you guys about some future trips I'm trying to get planned for next year if the world opens back up at the end of this live. So stick around if you want to hear about where we could be going, what I'm kind of thinking about doing. So probably orangutans and echidna / monotremes in general are animals that I really enjoyed filming and I'd love to film more of. Also whales. I was able to film some whales in Alaska, but the footage is just kind of repetitive and I wanted to get some more behavior, like some feeding and breaching and stuff like that. So I'm holding on to that footage. So I would love to film with whales again. Let's see. Yeah, I'm down. If you're ever in Virginia, let's go look for some timbers and see some of my cobras. Yeah, sure. I may be driving out up that way. I've got a collab planned late summer of next year with Hornet King, and he lives out in Pennsylvania. I was thinking about flying, but I may just drive and collect footage all along the way and make it, you know, a 5-day thing or something like that. So yeah, I'll definitely hit you up. So happy I found your channel. I have jumping jack ants on my property. Terrified of them. Oh, I'm so jealous. Myrmecia are probably one of my absolute favorite genera of ants. Back in 2016, I was like just super into ants, like ants, ants, ants. Everything was ants. Just because I really got super interested in keeping an entire colony of something. I had kept a lot of, you know, snakes and frogs and lizards and things like that, you know, were just kind of a singular entity. And I was really interested on watching kind of that colony perform its tasks and raise its offspring. So I love Myrmecia. Myrmecia, Paraponera, Ponerini in general, and then Atini were all the stuff that I really specialized in. And so I do know quite a lot. You're coming to PA? We have to meet up in collab. How do you feel about salamanders? Love them. I'd love to collab with you guys. It'll be summer of this coming year. So I'll definitely hit y'all up. Let's see here. Looks great. Looks good. Audio is good too. That's what's normally known. Oh, I'm glad the audio is good because I mean, this is my second ever live stream, and I'm actually, for a YouTuber, I'm not really big on YouTube. Like, I don't watch a lot. I used to back in high school, but I don't really watch a lot of YouTube anymore, and I never really watched a lot of like the streamers or anything like that. So I'm like, I hope it sounds good and looks good because I really don't have any idea what I'm doing. Let's see here. Hey, Jack, how do you fund your videos, travel / other expenses? Well, what I used to do when the world was open is I would work for about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months at a time. I'd get a job and I would just work. I'd do overtime if I needed to. I would sell stuff. I just would make as much money as possible and I'd save as much as I could. And then I would just pick up and travel for like a month or so at a time. Now what I do, I run my own business. So I make a good amount of money doing that. So that's how I'm kind of funding everything right now. I'd like for Jacksonville Wildlife to get to the point where it kind of sustains itself and can pay for the trips on its own. If I can just get it to the point where it's taking care of itself, that would be great. I don't need to, you know, be making millions and millions of dollars off of YouTube, but if it could pay for the trips and the equipment and maybe a helper or two, that would be excellent. So right now it's all me. I have a little bit of money that comes through Patreon. I've got a little bit of money that comes through AdSense, but combined it's only about $250 a month right now. So it's not like paying for everything. It helps with like I've got a lot of like storage subscriptions. I store a lot of stuff on Google Drive and you know, iCloud, and so I've got like, you know, 2 terabytes there and 2 terabytes there and 3 terabytes there. So I'm not making as much as I'd like to, but I'm still able to set aside enough to get some trips planned. I'd really like to get it to the point where it really starts to kind of snowball. So I'm hoping with more of these regular things and weekly kind of live streams, we can get to that point where we're doing a little bit better in that regard. Let's see. After Coyote's videos, I'm so glad I'm following you. Keep up the good work. And hi from Turkey. Hello, quite a ways away. What time is it in Turkey? Probably it's either really late or very early. Did I enjoy my time with Chris in Thailand? Absolutely. So Chris and I are like really close friends, and part of that is due to the fact that we both kind of really somehow like a lot of the same things. Like I say, I really like ants. He has some ant colonies. So when he first started thinking about keeping ants, I would like slide up on his Instagram stories. I'm like, bro, you have to. It's so much fun keeping ants. And so he would ask me a lot of questions. So we like kind of became close over Instagram. But when we met up in person, he's just such a nice guy, super authentic, super knowledgeable. We just really got along. So yeah, I would say he's probably one of my closer friends in the animal world, and we had a great time. Anytime they were with us, we had a great time. Him and his buddy Palm, both really close to them, and they had some stuff. Like we were in Thailand collectively for about a month, and they were maybe with us for like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks of that. And but when we were all together, it was just a great time. Other than that, it was me, my cameraman Gage, and David Frolic from David's feed, and then of course we had a lot of fun together anyway. But yeah, no, he's a great guy. Would love to get back out and hang out with him at some point if the world opens up. We have some great spots for salamanders. I'll shoot you an email sometime soon to work out the details. Sounds great. Love to do it. Yep, 2:25 a.m. So it is early in Turkey, everybody. What species of snakes do I personally keep? Well, like I said, I used to keep a ton of venomous snakes. We had, all sorts of pit vipers and old world vipers and cobras, a king cobra. Right now, I just have a monocled cobra. Just because I wanted just a normal cobra, just so I could still have a venomous snake, because I do enjoy them. This one's a really nice normal face, and I'm hoping at some point I can get a large natural terraria set up for it, so I can use it for advertisement for my business, because I do custom enclosures. But right now I'm still working on setting up my frog room, and she's still a super tiny baby. So I'm going to wait until I've got a little bit more space and a little bit more time to kind of upgrade her enclosure. Right now she's in this giant tub with a heat pad, and she's happy in there, because if she saw me more than, once a week, she'd be quite annoyed. She's got a lot of spunk, which I'm hoping she'll retain. I've had a lot of cobras just super mellow out over the years. You can't get them to hood up. You can't get them to do anything. And, you might as well just have a ball python or something. They just dangle around. You pick them up, you poke them in the eye. They don't do anything. Let's see. Yeah, Chris is a great dude. Absolutely. Great guy. Have I found wild cantiles? I have not. Funny story is my buddy Felix, like the week after I left Costa Rica, after living there for like 2.5 months, he went on a little herping trip, and they found, like, I think a few Mexican cantiles. And I was like, oh, are you serious? Are you serious? And I would love to find them in the wild. They're absolutely stunning animals. Do you need licenses to keep some of your animals? If so, how do you go about getting them? So Texas is super relaxed on animal laws. You do need a license to keep venomous snakes and some of the large constrictors, but you need a separate license to also sell and distribute. So I have the sell and distribute license. It's like license 572 or something. It's the controlled commercial exotic snake permit. And that sounds really fancy. It's like buying, like, if you've ever bought like a hunting or fishing license at Walmart, you can get them at a lot of Walmarts. The commercial exotic snake permit is like $75. So really, most of the vetting goes on at the hobby level. So people like don't really sell snakes very quickly to people, or shouldn't, unless they know you, or they, through word of mouth, you're recommended to somebody. So I'm one of the names that's on the sell list. So I can get stuff pretty easily from people. But yes, you do need licensing in the state of Texas. I didn't know you lived in Costa Rica for a bit. I did an internship program the summer of 2018 when I was down there. So I was there for a few months of just working. I did not see any eyelash vipers or really any snakes, because for the majority of my time I was living in Monteverde, which is really chilly in comparison to the rest of Costa Rica. And there's some cool like species of snakes up there that are endemic. Well, we were supposed to go on a night hike to go film Bothriechis lateralis, and we just never got around to it. So actually, the amount of venomous snakes I've seen in Costa Rica is actually pretty minimal and pitiful in comparison to what we did in Thailand. Costa Rica is a little bit slower herping wise in general. I like it, but I've been there so much, and I'm really familiar with the Central and South American stuff, that I really enjoyed Thailand in comparison, because there were nights we found 50 snakes in a night in Thailand. It was ridiculous. It's also cheaper in Thailand as well. So sadly, I've yet to find a wild eyelash viper. Hey, Jack, just wanted to stop by and say hi. I'm still loving your stuff and your knowledge, and we still hope to collaborate with you this year for a great Sting video or something. Fully believe your channel gets big. Thank you so much, Pain Rankers. I appreciate that. I'm totally down. I've got a bunch of stings left on my list, and I'm cool with redoing certain stings. Anything ant, bees, or wasps. I prefer no species of bees that of course will die afterwards, just because I prefer to release the animal. I don't like to sacrifice a bee to my cause, because people know that bees sting. But yeah, any wasps, I've still got to do. I'm planning on doing velvet ant next year. I could do tarantula hawk wasp again, because it's nothing, chump change, you know. But yeah, sure, any of that, totally down. I appreciate that. Let's see, where was I? I know this might be a weird question, but is it possible for a dead female black widow to envenomate you? Not entirely. It would be highly improbable, because essentially what you would have to do is not only push it into your skin, but essentially crush the carapace, because the venom sacs wouldn't be able to pump venom out on their own. But you would have to kind of work it really hard, because their fangs are somewhat fixed in the front, and it can be difficult to get the right angle to kind of pinch through the skin and enter the bloodstream. I would say highly, highly, highly unlikely. Now, in comparison, you know, scorpions, it's a lot easier to prick yourself on a scorpion stinger. You're not going to get a full load of envenomation, but you could get to the point where um, you have some sort of reaction to a scorpion stinger that pokes you. But that's a good question. There was a rumor I heard once that a bushmaster could break your arm if it strikes you. Just wanted to know if that was true. I haven't heard that. I don't believe that is true. However, they are super ridiculously strong. A buddy of mine was feeding some bushmasters, Lechesis, I think it was Muda. So and it went to grab the rat that he threw in midair. It caught the rat, and it actually smashed through the front glass panel of the enclosure. It broke through the glass, and it was maybe, you know, half inch. I mean, not half inch, a quarter inch glass. So they're ridiculously strong. I mean, it would feel like, I mean, if it doesn't break your arm, I mean, it'd feel like somebody just, I mean, punching you as hard as they could. So it would not be pleasant at all. I don't think it could break your arm, because that takes a lot of force and pressure. But some of those large bushmasters, I mean, even if you treated all the envenomation, you would have a massive freaking bruise, you know, wherever it slammed you. It would not be fun. I don't suggest getting bitten by a bushmaster. Was I mad at my parents for seeing a wild fertilance while you were locked in the compound looking after your siblings? Very funny. So my parents, first time I went to Costa Rica was on a family vacation with my family, my parents, and my two younger siblings. And we were staying in Jaco, which is on the Pacific side, you know, little kind of, you know, beach city, real touristy. And I was like, I don't want to stay on the beach. I don't want to stay on the beach. And they're like, oh, we're not staying on the beach. We're not staying on the beach. Look at this hostel. Look at all the pictures, you know. And it looked like it was in the middle of the jungle. When we get there, we're maybe, you know, 100 yards from the beach. And I'm like, oh, well, it's going to be hard for me to, you know, find some snakes that I want to find. And so I was looking, searching every night. You know, I'd pull my dad to come with me. I was maybe 15 at the time, something like that, around in there. And and it was fruitless. I didn't find a single venomous snake that trip. Well, the one night that my parents go on a date, they cruise a 6 foot long terciopelo, fertilance, Bothrops, asper, which is a extremely venomous species of pit viper. And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. Of course, the one time that they're alone. So they rush back, they get me, and we're like cruising around for like 2 hours. And of course, nothing at that point. And I was just like, whatever, I'm a failure. I can't find a snake in Costa Rica. That's a little stupid. So yeah, I was not, I was pretty upset about that. Yeah, it should be safe. Yeah, the a dead black widow. Well, I mean, no problem at all. The venom too. After a few days, once that spider curls up and dehydrates, there's no fluid left in there. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I can. Yeah. Wildlife brothers say I can confirm that it cannot break a human's arm, but a hit from the head might cause a bruise. I'm sure. Yeah, they can really get you hard. If you're in Western Australia and want to film some more jumping jacks, meat ants, yabbies, marron, frog, snakes, we have plenty of that in the backyard and in the dams. I'd love to. I've got a lot of people in New South Wales, which is normally where I am, but I'd love to see more of Australia. I would really love it. I tried to find Sasquatch. Oh, I'd love to find Sasquatch. That'd be great. It'd be great for my views, probably. A lot of people. Oh, I'm really. Like, oh, there we go. Nice and smooth. Um, oops. I was just talking about the Sasquatch today because a lot of people don't believe in Sasquatch for some reason. And I like to keep some intrigue. I like to keep some mystery in my scientific world. Technically, it would be theoretically possible for a species of solitary great ape to not only sustain itself in the northern part of North America, but to remain hidden because, like we see in a lot of indigenous writings and depictions and stories, that they did have a creature similar in description to what we call Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Um, that they had already been interacting with. So it's possible that one of these organisms or group of organisms kind of developed alongside of indigenous people and learned that we are hunters and we're dangerous and to avoid us. An endangered species of great ape could very well remain unseen for quite some time, even with modern technology. So I'd love to find Sasquatch. What are my fears? I seem pretty fearless. That's a good question. Honestly, it's kind of corny. I don't really know if I have all too many fears. There are times when I feel like I'm in more danger than I would prefer to be. But in terms of actual fear, I don't know. I mean, I'm afraid of getting maybe many thousands of dollars worth of equipment stolen, lost, or broken beyond repair. I'm afraid of that. But I would say I'm not sure. Some of the places I go can be dangerous, but I mean, I try to keep my head on a swivel. I'm usually traveling with at least a few people at a time, and I've got money, hidden in every pocket of my baggage. So if somebody, was trying to rob me, I could pull out. Oh, sorry, it's all I got. I got a 20 for you, and then the rest of my money is safe. So I don't know. Even some of my close calls, I haven't really been, struck with fear per se. But that's a great question. I would say I don't know. I don't know what my fears are. I usually kind of feel at peace when I'm on a trip. I feel like I'm doing what I should be doing, and I'm not terribly fearful of what I might run into or what I might do. And again, that varies from place to place. Like in Thailand, it's a little more nerve wracking because we were hiking in some elephant forest where elephants will come out and kill people. But in Australia, the scariest thing I could run into in New South Wales was a venomous snake, and that was exactly what I was looking for. And then compared to Texas, sometimes I'm hiking where there's mama black bears with cubs, or mountain lions, big terrestrial carnivores that don't exist really in mainland Australia, or at least the original ones. And so it kind of depends on what I'm more wary of, but I don't know what my fears would be. But that's a great question. I'll be thinking about that maybe for next time. I'd love to see you and Chandler collab. So, spoiler alert, I actually went up and visited Chandler my last trip down to Florida. And he's got a lot of cool stuff in the works, a lot of cool things that he's working on. And so you may see a collab from us maybe in the next year. I don't know. But yeah, we're buddies, so I'm pretty well networked in a lot of this stuff. Despite my sub count, just discount that. I know all the head honchos. Um, Weird as it sounds, to say, I'm glad someone else had the same herping experience in Costa Rica that we did. 10 days and 10 nights herping every night, only one snake to show for it. Lots of other species don't. Yeah, I don't know why. It seems like people are always finding so many snakes in Costa Rica, but it's I've had many a dry night of snakes, specifically venomous snakes in Costa Rica. Plenty of like slug eaters and a red-tailed boa we found one time. That type of stuff, but not a lot of what I'm looking for. Would I do a stonefish? I'm not sure. Stonefish is a very intense sting. That's like top of the line, one of the worst things that you can experience. So I've heard, and it's wow, excuse me, and it's an inhibitor that I don't think painkillers even work on either. So maybe I what I'd really prefer to do is do my last few like sting videos that I'm comfortable with doing and hoping that that's enough to kind of get enough momentum behind the channel just to keep it moving, and then we can focus on a lot more diversity, mammals and birds and stuff that just doesn't do well right now because we don't have enough subscribers. The sting videos bring a lot of people in and we get a lot of unique viewership, and then the mammal stuff and the bird stuff and some of the fish and insects and whatever, a lot of people who are subscribed are watching that, and that's great, and that's what I want. But the problem is when we have this tiny pocket of regular viewers that are going to watch anything I put out, I have to rely on things like the sting videos. I prefer to kind of wean off of that and do something different. So would I do a stonefish? Not sure. I'm going to say probably not, but um, I don't like to give just straight answers because sometimes I say I'm not going to do something, and then I'm like, you know what? Okay, yeah, sure, I can do that. Okay, so Mark's Reptiles asks, "What snake did you find, Wildlife Bros?" And they say, "We found a green parrot snake. Oh, really pretty. Beautiful animal, but we were hoping for some more. We did find a ton of lizards, caught a huge common basilisk. Basilisks are really, really nice. I found a ton of them my first time down there. Well, Jack, have to head out. All good, man. I hope you have a good rest of your night. I appreciate you tuning in. What other snakes did you find on subsequent visits to Costa Rica? Um, Gosh, I found a few snakes, nothing really notable, nothing that made it into videos. Uh, just we found some little fossorial stuff. When I went to the Osa Peninsula, we almost caught a Micrurus mosquitensis, which is a coral snake, but of course it got away. That was the trip. We found a little baby boa constrictor. That was really cool. Um, Not a lot else. I mean, really, Costa Rica has been just no bueno for snakes for me. So not a lot. We found a lot of cool frogs, a lot of cool insects. But in terms of snakes, pretty pitiful. What are a couple of your next dream places to visit? Slash, oh, I'm assuming that means herp. It autocorrected to hero. My dream places to visit, I would just love to go to Central Africa. Um, a lot of beautiful wildlife there. I would love to go to the impenetrable forest in Uganda, film with mountain gorillas, and then go find gaboon vipers and black mambas and hairy bush vipers and all this crazy stuff. I'd love to go to Africa, absolutely. Australia. I mean, I really only spent about 12 days in Australia. Australia has been one of my absolute favorite places I've ever been. I'd love to go back. Um, uh, um, I don't know. I think Central Africa, Australia. Borneo. I'd love to go back to Borneo. We spent such a short time there. Herp. Okay, so Lucas Jackson asked, what does herp mean? Herpetology is the study of reptiles and amphibians. A lot of people abbreviate that down to herp or herping, and that is the search of. So looking for reptiles and amphibians is what they're saying. Have I been to Malaysia? I have been to Sabah, which is Malaysian Borneo. I've not been to mainland Malaysia. I would love to go. There's a lot of beautiful wildlife there. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see here. A guy like you couldn't possibly have a favorite animal. What are one or two that come to mind that absolutely fascinate you or put you in awe, and why? Oh, great question. So we answered this somewhat last week as well, but it's an amazing question. I would say Bornean orangutan, orangutans in general. I just love. I've just fallen in love with just how really beautiful they are. They're so intelligent and they're so wise, and they're just spectacular animals. I would say those have to be. I mean, if they're not my favorite animal, they're up there. And again, because of that, just you can see so much in their eyes. You can see all the history, and they're such good stewards of their forest, and they just have a really interesting, lifespan and life cycle, being the only great ape native to Asia, and being the largest fully arboreal animal in the world. These are animals that spend very little time on the ground. In fact, the Sumatran orangutan hardly comes to the ground because they have terrestrial predators. The Sumatran tiger will kill and eat orangutan. So in Borneo, they walk around on the ground a little bit more, but in Sumatra, forget about it. So I would say those definitely on the top. I love orcas and sperm whales, the predatory toothed whales. I just cannot get enough of. I'd love to feature them more on the channel. It's a dream of mine to dive with both of those species, get those on camera, film with those, because I can't get enough of them. They're so intelligent. They're so communicative, and they do such a great job at hunting. And there's so much we don't know about sperm whales as well. Orcas are just brilliant. We learn every year that they're more intelligent than we thought they were. And then I would say monotremes. Love monotremes. Echidnas and platypus. Oh my gosh, if I could work with any animals in a captive setting, it'd be them. They're small, they're easy. You can take care of them very well in captivity. But they're so unique and so interesting. They've got semi-sprawled limbs similar to reptile kind of physical build. They've got the platypus has a sensitive leathery duck bill that can read electro sensory. I'm sensing that there's a yabby under here. I'm gonna suck him up and eat him. And then the echidnas, what a bizarre animal as well. They both secrete milk out of mammary glands. They don't have nipples. The babies just drink milk off of them. They both lay eggs. I mean, that's crazy. So I would say those top three groups, the Odontoceti, the toothed whales, Pongo genus apes, and the monotremes, echidnas and platypus, those are definitely my top three. Like those are the things I get most excited about filming with. Great question, though. Regardless of whether or not it involved animals, what is the scariest thing you've ever experienced? Oh, that's good. I think still, I think it's still got to be, I mean, well, there's one time we got scammed by a taxi driver in Costa Rica who drove us out into the middle of nowhere and told us, "Oh, this is a really crime-ridden area. You have to get out and you have to pay me like $300." And being naive, that was like my first time actually traveling by myself. I was with my friend Matthew, but I was as good as traveling by myself because Matthew was equally as inexperienced, if not more inexperienced with traveling. And so I was just like, golly, we got scammed. So I give the guy the money and we hop out and we're like clutching our bags and looking back, it was totally fine. But being young, I mean, I was maybe 18 at the time, we were like, what are we supposed to do? And we were finishing our internship because we both interned at the Monteverde Butterfly Gardens. And so we had like our 3 months worth of clothes with us. there's a fruit fly flying around in here. 3 months of clothes with us. So we had these huge duffel bags and roller suitcases, and we looked like a bunch of yokels out on the sidewalk. And we're like, well, gosh, if somebody was going to get robbed, it's going to be us. And so I'd say that was pretty nerve wracking as like kind of the beginning of my like independent travel days. But definitely some of the closer calls I've had was with the elephant in Thailand when they almost knocked me off my bike and stepped on me. That was scary. If you want to learn more about that, that's in my other live. I'm not going to take up a bunch of time talking about that one. I talked about that in greater detail on that one. That was pretty scary. Have I been to upstate South Carolina? I've never been to South Carolina. I'd love to go. A lot of great diversity, really pretty forests and stuff. I'd love to see it. This seems like too overexposed. Oh well. I guess it's fine. It's just like if I move up, see, that's good. No overexposure. Maybe I'll set up a little bit. Okay, so I've never been to South Carolina. I'd love to do that. Keep up the great work, Jack, helping to show the real side of some of these dangerous creatures that are often misunderstood. Absolutely. That's my whole shebang is making sure that I'm teaching people about how important these animals are. Because really it matters. It matters. Public opinion matters because people are afraid of spiders. They're afraid of bees. They're afraid of wasps. Uh-oh, my light just went out. And that's upsetting to me because these are animals that are like critical to our survival. Like you couldn't have more important organisms. And so that's what I'm all about, is making sure that I'm doing a good job at teaching people that you know what, actually, I know your favorite animal is a dog or a cat, but dogs and cats could go extinct tomorrow and it wouldn't matter, not even a tiny bit. Not even a tiny bit. In fact, it'd be better for the environment if cats and dogs went extinct. But insects are so critically important. So critically important. So I'm always going to fight for my insects. Let's see. What do I like most and least about travel? I love being in new places. I love experiencing new cultures. I love going out and just immersing myself in these places. You know, a lot of people, you know, they say they like traveling, but you know, I call them hotel hoppers. You know, they go from the airport to the hotel, and every hotel is pretty much the same. They're like, oh, well, I went to China. I'm like, oh, where'd you go? And they're like, well, we stayed at our hotel, and you know, we went to see the Great Wall, and then we came back to the hotel, and then we flew home. And I'm like, well, that's great. But I just love just to be in it, you know, walk the streets and go to the rural towns and just see everything and be there. So that's what I love. I love just being in it and not just going somewhere just to say I've been somewhere, but to experience something new and to learn about something new. That's my favorite thing about traveling. My least favorite thing about traveling is how something always seems to go wrong. Stuff always seems to cost more money than you think it's going to cost. And it just takes so long. Oh my gosh. Like we saved a ton of money flying to Thailand when we went in 2019. But we had all these layovers. We had like a 23-hour layover in California. So we had to go get a hotel, sleep in a hotel. We had to come back to the airport. Then we flew out. Then we had a 5-hour layover in Xiamen, China. So then we're stuck in the Chinese airport. And so then we had to convert a bunch of our money because they wouldn't take American Visa cards in the airport. So we had to get a bunch of money. We ended up getting too much money, and then we didn't convert it over when we made it to Thailand. So I keep all my extra currency because I'm like, well, if I'm ever stuck in the Chinese airport again, or if I go to China, I can use. I've got like, you know, I don't know, $30 in yuan. So I'm like, I'll just hold on to it. So I'd say my least favorite part of traveling is all the unexpected stuff, but also, you know, it's gonna take a long time. I like to go there and be there. I don't like all the, oh man, I gotta sit on a bus for 8 hours, or now I gotta fly in a plane for 20 hours. You know, I'm like, no, just transport me there, and then I'm having a great time. Wow, we've got a ton of questions. I think we're gonna go over an hour today. I'm gonna try and keep it an hour-esque each week, just since we're doing them more often. Okay. Will you ever make your way to and film at the Costa Rican Amphibian Research Center? I'd love to. I haven't made my way there yet, but there's a chance that I'll be going to Costa Rica next year for at least a few days. So we shall see. I'd love to see what they've got going on down there. I love Costa Rican wildlife. They've got some spectacular frogs, including some of my absolute favorites. Ufaga granulifera, Ufaga pamilio, of course. Really pretty dart frogs as well. Thanks for the awesome answer. No problem. Will I ever film Atrax or Phenutria species? I will not be filming bite videos, but I do plan on featuring both of those on the channel. I looked and looked and looked for Atrax in Australia, and my friends were sure that we found one, but I wasn't absolutely sure since there's so many like mouse spiders and stuff that look similar. So I decided to err on the side of caution and not release something which was improperly identified, something some of my counterparts on other places of the internet do not do. And I decided to hold off on uploading that, but I'm hoping if I'm able to get back out to Australia, hopefully next year, that will be something that will be added to the repertoire. Thanks for the great answers. I hope you live stream more often, once a week. Gotta go. Have a good night. Good night. Your videos and authenticity are great. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Eric. I'm scared of the wandering spider. Wandering spiders get a bad reputation. The Brazilian wandering spider, Phenutria fera, is pretty defensive. But actually, the species you encounter in Costa Rica, Boliviensis, they're super calm. Like even more calm than like wolf spiders. I've never had them like throw up a threat display or flare their fangs or anything at me. I mean, they're like unnerving because you're like, oh, I really don't want to get bitten by it. But they're super calm. You can you coax them into your hand and no problem at all. So I wouldn't be scared of them. If you see them, just keep your distance if you don't want to get hurt by them. Have you ever thought about going to a grade school and doing a lecture/demonstration with animals to teach kids about the world around them? I used to do that a lot, actually. I used to do birthday parties, Boy Scouts of America stuff, programs like that. I had like 10 or so animals at the time, python, a ferret, a Gila monster. I brought a bunch of alligator snapping turtle. I used to do that type of thing. I find that that's really, really good for a lot of people, and I do enjoy doing that. Now I tutor in biology, and so I add some of that into my curriculum. But I find that this sort of setup is a little more I don't know, conductive to what I'm trying to do. It reaches a lot more people. Of course, I'm never going to bat away the opportunity to go and speak somewhere, but I don't really keep a lot of like educational animals on hand anymore. So I'd be showing up kind of empty-handed. Will you sell adult Chrysina beetles when the larvae mature? I have way too many, so absolutely I will be selling them. I agree with those compliments. Gotta go, Jack. Have you ever filmed sea ducks? I know it's a long shot given your location, but we have a big shoot at a known sea duck hotspot, and I'm looking for any tips. I've not filmed sea ducks, but I'm going to ask, are you filming from land or on a boat? Because I do have experience filming on a boat, and it's terrible. So I can give you some pointers if you're filming on a boat. Other than that, I would just recommend make sure you give yourself enough room to get the animals in frame and in focus, but don't pull in too far. It's much better to pull in and post and stabilize the footage than to try and get those close-up shots, on site and then having stuff be super blurry or you're getting, seasick trying to film it. Filming on land, luckily. I've not filmed sea ducks, so I can't really give you any sea duck specific tips, but I would recommend just keep your wits about you. Don't get too flustered with it. Try and get some good shots, and I know it's going to turn out great. Is there any insect or animal I would hesitate to pick up within reason? Sure. I'd hesitate to pick up a lot of stuff, specifically stuff I don't want to get bitten by. Things like the Sydney funnel web spider. I'm not going to just pick it up. I'm going to capture it in a container and then I can look at it. But I'm not going to try and go like tarantula style pinch hold. I won't even do that with tarantulas because I'm just not interested. I don't like to give animals a reason to defend themselves against me. That's another big part of my message. Like if you can work around that feeling with an animal of it being threatened, you can work around the comfort of the animal. The animal will calm down and you can film no problem. Like my centipede videos, my venomous snake videos, where you see an animal that's really defensive at first and then it calms down once it realizes it's not going to be eaten. If you go around and just double palming stuff, it gets frustrated with you. But there's plenty of stuff I would hesitate to pick up. Lots of spiny insects, lots of things that bite. I hesitate to pick stuff up all the time. I'm not all gung ho to just pick up whatever I can. Containers are your friend. Tweezers are your friend. If you want to see a fertile ant, spend a week in La Selva Biological Station and do as many night hikes as you can. I've been to La Selva. I've done the night hikes again. I think I just have bad luck. But I mean, if I make it back, when I make it back to Costa Rica, sure. Have I ever been to Japan? No, I haven't, but I'm hoping I can make it there maybe even as soon as next year. Have I ever considered filming a documentary type video that lasts over 30 minutes, just looking for an endangered animal or at least a very elusive one with loads of B-roll and voiceovers? I would love to do that. The issue with what I can do right now is that I have very little funding, and because of that, I have very little time. A lot of those documentaries that you see on BBC, on Netflix, that they've got these great shots, and they might only have, a minute max worth of footage of that one elusive animal. That can take months or years to accrue all that stuff. So, and it can take a lot of equipment. Some of that stuff you can only film with remote, game trail cameras that you can just set to record, when it senses movement. I would love to produce stuff like that. Absolutely would love to, but that's going to be down the road when I'm making more money, when I've got time enough to collect a lot of footage so I can do those B-rolls and voiceovers about and take the time to look for that type of stuff in the amount of detail that it requires. That's a great question. Absolutely, I would love to do that type of thing. You saw a cellar spider removing its skin. Very cool. So it's molting. So they hang upside down. They push out the top layer of that carapace, the cephalothorax, and they kind of pump their legs out. And then they hold on to that, and then they harden up. Very, very cool. We're filming on land, luckily. Okay, good. So you won't have to worry about getting seasick and trying to focus on a boat. That's the worst. Yeah, I would just say, yeah, try your best, and I can't give you any sea duck specific answers. Am I married? Yes, I'm married. Thanks for your time, Jack. Look forward to the next stream. I enjoyed this and the last one. I'll be watching and supporting as you grow. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Who are my favorite nature-focused YouTubers? Oh, that was a good one. Well, like I said, my buddy Chris, I'm close with Chris. He's got a YouTube channel now focusing primarily on snakes. Chris Sweet, I think, is the same as his Instagram handle. David as well. He's a good buddy of mine. David's Feed. That's his channel. Afro Herp Keeper, a good buddy of mine. Daniel Carter. He's got some great videos on his channel. But like I said, I don't really watch a whole lot of other stuff. Jungle Diaries, Phil Torres. He's got some really high quality footage. He's got really good footage off his camera that he does. So I would say those guys are who I would say. Of course, Wildlife Brothers, Animal Encounters. Those are all solid, great options. Do I plan on doing something for 10K? I would love to. I'm thinking at 10K, I am gonna announce a little promotional thing where we're gonna do where I'm gonna have like a few sting videos set up, keyed up to release at 15K. but I might release one at 10K. It's just we're so close to 10K. It's almost like we need to just push through and shoot for something that'll take a little bit longer to put together. But sure, I'm all for putting together a video at 10K. I don't have anything in particular planned, but you guys seem to really like the uh, staying videos, so I'm sure it'll be something like that. Thank you so much, man. That means the world. No problem, Wildlife Brothers. Harrison or Evan or both. What happened to Afro Herp Keeper? He has not made videos in a while. He's been like redoing a ton of his stuff, so he's been super busy. But this next year, he's gonna film some videos with me. We actually already have filmed a few videos together that he's gonna put together and release in the next half at some point of next year. So he's gonna get back into it. He's just been working on building a ton of stuff and just working his little hiney off. So he's taking a little sabbatical for that. But he'll be back. He'll be back. Don't sweat it. Really hope your channel gets huge. Me too. Thank you, Shane. I'll check Wildlife Brothers out. You should. Wildlife Brothers are pretty lit. Yes, they are. Are brown recluses in the UK, and are they dangerous? They're not in the UK. They should not be in the UK. Anybody who says they've been bitten by a brown recluse in the UK probably has not, unless it was some ridiculous invasive deal. If you're worried about brown recluse, go watch my brown recluse bite video. I recorded a full envenomation from an adult female brown recluse, Loxosceles reclusa, and I dispel a lot of the myths that kind of surround those spiders. A lot of people think they can do something that they can't, when it's just not true. How can we convince parents to get a snake? Well, first and foremost, compare it to the other options. Snakes don't need a walk. They don't eat, 40 pounds of dog food, a week. They don't shed all over the couch. If you can get, essentially, the way to cure that stigma and ignorance around snakes is just to familiarize yourself with them. Show them some educational videos. Show them some of my videos of how snakes really are, because a lot of people, even if they don't say it, they're worried about snakes. They're afraid of snakes. Any local pet shops in the area should also allow you to get up close and see snakes, or even hold snakes you're considering about purchasing. I would do a ton of research. When I was a kid, I would put together PowerPoints about the stuff I want, and then it's pretty hard for a parent to look at a 15-page PowerPoint with a whole speech prepared and all this work that you put towards it, and then for them to say, forget about it, kid. So I would say do your research, make sure you know what you're doing, what you're getting into. For beginner snakes, I recommend king snakes over anything. Corn snakes can be nippy, they can be finicky. Ball pythons won't eat half the time. They're genetic failures 9 times out of 10 because they've been inbred so much to get the different color variations. King snakes, powerhouses. They'll eat anything you throw at them. They're very easy to keep. They can be a little bit more expensive on average, but in the long run, they do much better. They live much longer than some of those other species of snakes that are just genetically bankrupt, I call them. But great question. Let's see here. You're the best. Thank you. No problem. No problem. Which would I dislike to pick up more? A devil's coach horse or a centipede? I'm terrified of the devil's coach horse. That's why I ask. I don't know. Let me find that actually, because is that a common name? What do you have the species name? Devil's coach. Oh, it's a beetle. Horse beetle. I should have known that one. It's a rove beetle. Why are you afraid to pick up this? Rove beetles don't spray anything. Staphylinids. They can release painful smelling secretions, and they can bite, but they don't. I would take the staphylinid. That's a beetle that's like half an inch long. Centipede, if that bit me, I could have anything from my arm swollen up to a day to being hospitalized. So I would take the harmless beetle. Great question though. Oh yeah, but that's their soft body. When they curl that up, stephalids will do that to kind of mimic like stinging insects. They it's not sharp really at the end. They're just trying to trick us. Well, okay, guys, I think we are getting to the end. I'm going to give you guys a little message. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. So I told you I would give you some little sneak peeks at what I'm planning on doing. Next year, I am hoping to get to Australia, Costa Rica, Japan, and some other places around North America. I'm hoping we can get all that done. Now these will be interesting because I'm planning on doing shorter stuff. So I'm going places for a week at a time instead of many weeks at a time. But I think you guys will really like it. I'm hoping we can get the stuff that we need to put together. But as always, I need you guys' support. Watch every video to the end, like everything, share whatever you are interested in sharing, and tell people about us, because that's how we grow. We're still in a lull here. We were doing really, really good. September, October, we were just growing. We were set to hit 10K by Christmas. And then November, with no videos uploaded in October, my channel just fell all the way down to the bottom of the line. And right now we're still less than 50% of what we were, just a few months ago. So all the support you guys can give us, the better, because we need it. So that's everything for today. I really appreciate you guys turning in. I really appreciate you guys tuning in, not turning in. Like I said, we'll be doing another live stream next Sunday. It seems like people voted more for the 5 p.m. time slot, so we'll probably do it that way next week. So let's say 5 p.m. next Sunday, we'll have another live stream. I might bring some animals on, and we'll do a little talk about about some animals or something like that. Because I feel like we're kind of starting to run low. We had probably twice as many questions as we had this week. So once we've exhausted the whole Q&A style thing, and you guys can still ask me questions, but we won't have that be the theme of the next few live streams. But as always, thank you so much for your support, your patronage. Thank you to those who donated on the super chat. I really appreciate that. That super helps me out to produce more stuff, and it incentivizes me to create more videos. So like I said, like, comment, share, subscribe. If you guys want to go right now and comment in the actual videos comments, that also helps my algorithm. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you at 5 p.m. next week. So Jacksonville Wildlife signing off. Once again, I appreciate you guys. Keep on doing what you're doing so I can keep on doing what I'm doing. All right.